Thing one tonight, you may remember a thing we did here last week about Donald Trump and a Saudi arms deal that was originally going to create 40,000 jobs. But then every time Trump talked about it, he jacked up that number.
I worked very hard to get the order for the military. It's $110 billion. I believe it's the largest order ever made. It's 450,000 jobs. They have a tremendous order, $110 billion. Every country in the world wanted a piece of that order. It's 500,000 jobs. We have $450 billion worth of things ordered from a very rich country, Saudi Arabia. 600,000 jobs, maybe more than that.
This is equipment and various things ordered from Saudi Arabia. $450 billion. I think it's over 1 million jobs.
I think that's over 1 million jobs, 1 million to over 1 million jobs.
As we said last week, all the numbers he had there are questionable. And so today, Reuters got to that question. How many jobs would the arms deal actually create? The answer is somewhere between 0 and 1 million or over 1 million. And that's thing two in 60 seconds. So after President Trump said the Saudi arms deal would create 1 million to over 1 million jobs, Reuters set out to find out the real answer from the defense contractors who would actually be hiring all those people. Spoiler alert, Trump's numbers and reality are not in the same zip code. Reuters saw an internal document from top defense contractor Lockheed Martin, which, by the way, is profiting off the Saudis' continued war in Yemen, forecasting fewer than 1,000 positions would be created. Lockheed predicted that the deal would also keep up to 18,000 existing U.S. workers busy. But all that's only if the whole package comes together, which experts say is unlikely. Reuters also spoke to a person familiar with the planning of another major contractor, Raytheon, who said if the Saudi order were executed, it could help to sustain about 10,000 U.S. jobs. But the number of new jobs created would be a small percentage of that. Now, you may be wondering, what about adjacent jobs? Well, I'm glad you asked. A research fellow told Reuters the highest multiplier for this type of industry would be about 3.2, and with Reuters' estimate about 20 to 40,000 sustained or new jobs in the defense industry involved in the Saudi deal, that comes to 64 to 128,000 jobs in related industries, bringing the total, again, only if the whole deal goes through, which, by the way, it shouldn't, because the Saudis are currently starving Yemenis to death, to between 84 and 168,000 sustained and new jobs, of which the new jobs are, again, a very small percentage. We have a laugh here at Trump's ridiculous lies from time to time, but in the end, it's important to remember they are, in fact, ridiculous lies.
I think that's over 1 million jobs, 1 million to over 1 million jobs.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.